With the entire premise of NetherRealm's Injustice games revolving around DC characters fighting each other in spectacularly over-the-top brawls, it's no surprise that the heroes are going to take center stage, with hero versus hero confrontations a rare and sometimes more compelling spectacle to watch. Though, despite the brilliant story that has sprung from that premise, the games are definitely lacking a true villainous presence, something that, while the sequel certainly improved with Brainiac, is still a problem overall. We all may love, or hate rather, evil dictator Superman, but nothing beats a classic DC bad guy. From Batman's rogues gallery to the villains of The Flash, Superman, and beyond, the distinguished competition have their competition beat when it comes to compelling antagonists. And though both Injustice games boast a combined roster of what I'm told is 5 billion figures, there are still villains they're yet to include. So, as usual, I'm Ewan from WhatCulture, and here are 10 DC supervillains NetherRealm must include in Injustice 3. Number 10. King Shark. I'm going to hell for that, sorry. You may not expect it, but in the Injustice comics, King Shark has actually been one of their best elements. Also, an unremarkable death at the hands of the Flash. God, this universe is messed up. Shark boasts a great visual appeal and has some great fighting abilities. Plus, his aforementioned history would make for some great dialogue interactions between the other heroes and villains already present. With the character being another one of those villains who isn't used nearly as much as they should either, an appearance in Injustice would be the springboard that launches him into newfound heights of popularity. He's already rumored to appear in Suicide Squad 2, so now would be the perfect time to get ahead of the curve and bring the Shark to Injustice. Just make sure Deadshot doesn't wedge a propane tank in his gob. We all know how that ended for Jaws. May he rest in peace. Number 9. Toyman. Toyman, aka Winslow Scott, has already made one very brief and frankly underwhelming appearance within the realms of the Injustice comics. This involved the villain being apprehended by the soldiers of Superman's regime while transporting Solomon Grundy, something which doesn't make the character seem overly threatening or in any way able to stand up to the likes of Batman or even Harley Quinn. Then again, when has that ever stopped NetherRealm? Much like Penguin, but to an even greater extent, Scott has a vast array of interesting weaponry to choose from, meaning his moveset, if he were to be included within the next entry, would certainly be exciting, and make up for the injustice, that was his lackluster comic book cameo. Oh come on, it was right there, how could I not use it? Plus, I don't know about you or anything, but the versions seen in Superman the Animated Series, terrifying. The stuff of nightmares. Have that as a skin, and you'll have your opponent forfeiting in no time at all as they relive their worst nightmares over and over and over again.
Now, Ewan, I've told you that Toyman from Superman the Animated Series can't hurt you.
But he's right there! Ah! Number 8. The Dark Archer. With the popularity that the CW's Arrow has garnered, it would be a shame for the heroes to be the only ones to be highlighted in other DC ventures. Hence why the Dark Archer, aka Malcolm Merlyn, should be considered for inclusion in the next Injustice. Considering it would be nice to have some variety in the criminals featured across DC media, with almost all of them originating from the Dark Knight's Rogues Gallery, finally seeing someone from another hero's world would certainly be a breath of fresh air. And to be fair to the Bat, the Dark Archer is one of the very few good Green Arrow villains. And while it could be argued that the Dark Archer would be more of a reskin than a secondary character, there could be no such qualms with the next figure. Number 7. Count Vertigo. Count Vertigo is up there with Onomatopoeia and Merlin in terms of the Emerald Archer's best antagonists, and his abilities actually lend the character well to NetherRealm's mythos. The Count received a visual upgrade during DC Rebirth and has the powers to match. He's proficient in several different martial arts, has served with both the Suicide Squad and Checkmate, and is really good at horse riding? Well, anyway, as his namesake suggests, Vertigo is a master of disorientation and has been known to disrupt marksmen and has been able to throw off the aim of even the most accomplished shooters in the business. If that's not the perfect counter to that annoying little twerp spamming Deadshot's rifle from the edge of the screen, I don't know what is. While previous incarnations may have been more in line with the goofy and ghastly characters that were a dime a dozen in DC's heyday, now we can probably all agree that, with his newfound visual badassery, as well as his trippy powers, he'd be right at home in the game, especially with him having already been briefly established in the tie-in comic. Number 6. Penguin. When Justin Murray created his take on the Penguin for potential inclusion in Injustice, he wasn't messing around. The character, as well as looking particularly cool in this concept art, is widely regarded as one of the best Batman villains who, when done correctly, can easily stand next to the likes of the Joker, the Riddler, or even Mr. Freeze. At least when he's not sounding like Ray Winston in a gambling advert. God damn it, Arkham Penguin. Anyway, with both the wacky weapons Cobblepot is often seen touting, plus his winning personality, his addition into the Injustice verse would certainly be something to behold. At the very least, however, Penguin's inclusion would provide some much-needed comic relief when he's inevitably punched across the universe by an angry Man of Steel. Hopefully, in that little duck from Batman Returns. Number 5. Mirror Master. Next to Superman and Batman, Flash probably has the best rogues gallery in the DCU. We've already seen Captain Cold and Gorilla Grodd appear in the previous 2 Injustice titles, but now it's time for the Master of Mirrors, yes, that'll do, to appear in the 3rd game. The character has already appeared in the Injustice comics, but it's time he made it into the series' original medium. Just think of it, Master hopping through different mirrors, teleporting, laying traps, and all sorts. He could even work in as the perfect counter to the Flash, obviously, or even the less agile characters in the roster. He might not be everyone's first pick, but Mirror Master could open up a whole new realm of visual possibilities for NetherRealm, with his all transporting enemies to the mirror dimension. Number 4. Amazo. Despite having been absolutely annihilated by Supergirl in the Injustice 2 comic, reintroducing this character into the Injustice verse would be a great way of providing a challenge to Batman's new Justice League. If you didn't know already, Amazo is an android whose ability is to absorb the powers of others and use them for his own, usually more villainous, schemes. Think of how effortless it could be, turning the tables on your opponents and batting them away like Pete Keanu at the end of The Matrix. That's Amazo. The only slight problem with the character is his design, but there's scope for NetherRealm to have some fun there too. If executed correctly, the character would provide a superb amalgamation of the game's best movesets, hopefully not in an overpowered way, but that would be insanely fun to use, not to mention visually brilliant. Number 3. Nekron. Blackest Night would make for a fresh, wonderful follow-up to the first 2 Superman-centric games, and if you're going to use this story, then Nekron is a must-have for inclusion. Nekron is one of the seemingly many embodiments of death in the DC universe, making him probably one of DC's most powerful entities. Later, however, in the aforementioned comic book event, the character was revealed to be the leader of the Black Lantern Corps. This new brand of ring-slingers was made up of the entire reanimated dead population of the galaxy, making him a monumental threat and a perfect fit for the graveyard-filled Injustice verse. Number 2. Upside Down Man. One of the more recent additions to the DC universe, the Upside Down Man first appeared in James Tynion IV's ongoing Justice League Dark series. Being a magical creature from the also newly introduced Otherworld, and a very powerful one at that, seeing him join the roster of Injustice would be excellent to see. The character has proven his abilities by completely decimating the magical branch of DC's premier team, using his mind-bending reality warping abilities, which would make for some wild fights. Unlike some of the villains on this list, Upside Down Man would provide an incredible new direction for the Injustice verse and help to introduce some of the more mystical elements into the game and, fingers crossed, lead to the addition of heroes like John Constantine. Number 1. The Batman Who Laughs. Another new character to the DC multiverse, this alternate Batman was probably the best thing to come out of the recent Dark Knight's metal. Being a version of the Bat, the character is insanely skilled, both in terms of intelligence and combat prowess, but due to the events that have taken place in the universe, he also shares some elements with that of his traditional nemesis, the Joker. As such, the tactics of a Batman Who Laughs and his allies are a tad more absurd than that of the original Dark Knight, with this incarnation using a couple of good old machine guns and a cabal of disgusting Jokerized Robins that would fit right in with the more brutal take on the DC universe that Injustice is. The Dark Multiverse has opened up a literal new realm of possibilities for DC over the last few years, so if NetherRealm can cap it all off with an axe-wielding, metal-loving Dark Knight, we could all be in for a real treat. And that was our list. Which DC villains do you want to see appear in Injustice 3? Please shout out your suggestions in the comments below, and why not like the video if you haven't already? Subscribe if you want more, and head back on over to WhatCulture.com for more lists, news, and articles like this every day. I've been Ewan. Track my comics-based exploits on WhatCulture Comics and my ramblings on Twitter at EwanRuinsThings, and I'll see you next time. Bye!
Look, my son, look at the marvel that I have created. created. Look at the quality fabric, hand-stitched by blind orphans. The perfect letter spacing calculated so meticulously that Rich Hudson had an erection for months about it. And a colouring so deep that I had to buy the dye off the dark web. Oh no, the beast has grown angry, angered by our drab fashion choices. I am such a fool to think that it wouldn't try to infect us with its perfect design. Quick, we must do something to appease the beast. Why don't we buy one from shop.whatculture.com? Look, it's already got Scott Nash. Oh no! Shop.whatculture.com! Quick, let's go and buy one right now! Let's go buy one right now!